Do you think it's ever okay? This is a funny question, I think, but I have to ask it because I think it's a healthy discussion. Do you think it's ever okay to present different sides of yourself in order to attract someone? Or do you think that you're ultimately setting yourself up for failure in a relationship? Almost like, I think a lot of people, they may not become someone completely different, but I think a lot of people are like, oh, I'm going to show my smart side because it will attract this person, or I'm going to show my this side because they'll like that. Are you saying any of that kind of molding is unhealthy, or do you think there's room for that?
I think anything that is not sustainable is unhealthy. So look at it as if I'm a man and I'm meeting this woman and I want to impress her. So I'm like, okay, I'm going to try to spend all my money, take her to a nice 5-star restaurant, all these things. But deep inside, I prefer a more simple lifestyle. You know, I don't like all that extra stuff. Okay, that's horrible. That's a setup for disaster. That's unhealthy because you can't sustain what you're presenting to that individual that's going to draw them in. So whatever it is, another like common example is you'll have women who love to communicate. They want to be able to talk to you every single day. But because they're afraid of coming off a certain kind of way, they'll hold back on their communication. So now they'll make it seem like they're okay with talking every now and then. We don't always have to text. And then this guy falls for that. He falls for this low standard. I don't want to call it low standard, but not having such a high expectation of him when it comes to communication. Then he finally gets with the woman. Her true self is going to come out at some point. No one can suppress their true self forever. It comes out and now it's like, what is this? I did not sign up for this. Now we're fighting. Now we're stressed because you want him to call you more. He was used to you not being worried about it so much. That's why it's going to always not work out. So it's extremely unhealthy unless we're presenting a side of us that is truly us and we can sustain it.
You've hit on something again there that at the beginning of relationships, we often display unrealistic standards and we set those.
Yes.
And then when things shift and now you're back in reality again, the other person's like, but wait a minute, I thought you were really into me.
Mm-hmm.
And I even went through that with my wife. When we first met, I was able to spend pretty much every day with her because I didn't have a job. And so I was looking for work. I was applying. I would go see her at her college every day. And I would spend the day with her. And I'd be in the library applying for jobs while she was studying.
Yeah.
And I could see her every day. And I think I saw her every day potentially for like 6 months maybe. Every single day, 5 days a week at least. And then when I got a job, that wasn't the case anymore. Because I was at work now and I'd set this unrealistic expectation that we could see each other all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And even in the beginning, I would see her all the time because I'd spend time with her family, but we wouldn't spend time with my family because I hadn't told my family yet. And so now that my family knew, we were trying to split the time. And all of a sudden it was like, but wait a minute, we used to spend time at my house. And so even in little things like that, it took a bit of adapting because I'd set a false standard in our relationship. And then thankfully my wife was adapting and she understood and she got it and it was fine. But I think for so many people, you set unrealistic expectations in who you are.
Yes.
And that's hard to come back from.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And that's why it's so important for us to know who we are so that we can present the real from the jump. You know, because again, a lot of times people, you know, this idea that we're always changing. Yes, I do think we're always evolving, but some of the big shifts that you see is not because that's just the way life is. It's because you didn't take the time to figure yourself out first. And then you got with this person and now you want them to adjust. Now, thank God for you, she was able to adjust. But there's a lot of people that they can't handle that.
Yeah.
And now everything falls apart from there. And so that's why, yeah, we have to be very careful with what we're presenting from the beginning.
Yeah, I agree with you on that we think people change, but actually they just start to understand themselves better.
Exactly.
Right? It's like they went from being completely unconscious about who they were. You met an unconscious version of a person.
Yep.
And now you think they're changing, but they just became conscious of who they are.
Absolutely.